The live stream is on. Are you hearing me loud?
Thinking,
Like when I talk, are you just talking over me, or is it because you can't
yes,
hear me?
because I'm angry.
Okay.
All right,
I'm just trying to make sure that that's the reason. That's all.
politics. What did I say for politics?
That
Whatever it was, I'm sure it was
probably,
correct.
Yeah, sure. I don't know. All right, the VOD's recording. Hello, people watching the VOD. Let us begin recording a show. What episode is this? 175, right? It is. Okay.
175.
175.
Yeah, it is.
175. Let me make sure my audio thing is on. Where would that be, Bo?
Silence here. It's all good.
Yeah, let's hit the gavel, see if that works.
Donate for real change.
All right, sorry. For some reason, it takes this program for
real change. What do you
Sorry, I'm on the Liberals website because there's this survey you can do. I'm looking for it.
Too long.
So I can send it to you.
Let's
is there a virtual punch it in the face? Because that's
no. It's like you get to rate them on all the different things.
Hello.
The different sections.
Hello. All right, you guys ready to get started?
I love the hypocrisy that's been pointed out when they've said, like, we're looking for broad consensus on electoral reform. And people have been like, just like you wanted broad consensus on pipelines? Because you made that decision and there's no broad consensus.
All right.
I hate them.
We can have this after the show. Let's get a show in the can, all right?
Sure.
Who's
entering?
I am. Let's get going. Episode Good, Bad, or Bullshit 175 records in 6, 9, 4, 7. Oh, something screwed up. Damn it. And that was so clever, too, the way I miscounted.
All right. So,
no.
Yeah. Worst part about Justin Trudeau.
Yeah.
He's so likable, but yet he's I saw this comic where it was like
testing.
Stephen Harper taking off a Justin Trudeau mask, and he was like,
testing.
"Surprise!"
Right, can you stop talking for a second? Actually, can you stop talking for a second? I just want to hear. Okay, perfect. Right, can you stop talking for a second? Actually, can you stop? All right, perfect. All right, Good, Bad, or Bullshit, episode 100. Oh, that's why we had no clicks. There we go. Episode 175 starts in 7, 3, 2, 5. Hello and welcome to the Good, Bad, or Bullshit podcast. Three guys, unlimited opinion, where debate is the foundation, or conversation, in fact, is the foundation of higher thought. I am the hand that rocks the cradle of the show, Bo Schwartz, and joining me today, as always, the hand that puts the shoe on the other foot, it's Michael Hodgins. Hello, Michael.
Okay, hello.
And
I'm waiting to see where you're.
Also joining us is the hand that sticks its finger in electrical sockets. It's Crofton Steers. Crofton, hello.
Hello, Bo. So I'm just a hand.
I feel like you'd be the socket.
See, he already didn't understand what I was saying, so clearly the simile applies, or the metaphor. Or
was it a compliment?
A simile is a comparison using like or.
Oh, then it's a whatever. It's some sort of literary device that I employed that means Crofton,
a metaphor.
Puts his fingers into light bulb sockets. And
I eat paint chips, so to speak.
And
I'm slow.
I think this is like top 10 best intro ever.
Yeah, it's pretty good, right?
One time we should do an episode where we have to do like top 10s of different things, and like we can figure out what our best intros are. Remember that one on Donald Trump that turned into the entire episode?
It was great. I thought it was a good episode, and it was great that we did that. We've only done that.
Just like halfway through where I was like, okay, let's try a topic. And you guys are like, screw you, Crofton. We're already 40 minutes in.
Well, good effort to try to bring it back.
Yeah, what you going to do? I tell you, I've been super busy at work lately. I feel like my brain power is even weaker than usual. It feels like I've stuck my finger in an electrical socket. Man, that was a good analogy.
It's foreshadowing.
Why were you doing that, Crofton?
I don't know. I'm the hand that does that.
Okay. I could have said something else. I think you fared okay, actually. And the
last episode was Bo was right into the toilet or the gutter, like 5 seconds flat. So
that was a record,
Bo.
Never be beat.
You've got like a few minutes in.
I didn't Oh, well, I alluded to it. Do illusions really count taking the show to the gutter?
Yes, that's like half of toilet humor and gutter humor.
But it was
like...
very like
no, it wasn't. It was very
it's like I opened the door a crack or was peeking in the keyhole of what I normally do.
You said crack.
You guys.
So you're busy at work, Bo? Busy at work?
I am. Yes, providing the world with dosimeters.
I feel like I prefaced an episode earlier this last month about how November sucks. Did I talk about how I hate November?
You did, actually.
Well, yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Self-fulfilling prophecy, maybe, but November fucking sucks.
Whoa.
For other reasons too, you mean?
And it was crazy at work. I didn't see Gwen as much. There was all sorts of annoying things, tons of conflict on top of weather being shitty and freezing rain and like, oh my God. Anyway, I'm so glad that's over. In your face, November.
It only freezing rained like once.
Shut up, Hodgins. Let me have this.
As Novembers go, it wasn't that bad.
Oh, I hate it.
But here we are into December, which is just like...
Donald Trump got elected in this November.
Oh, my God. That happened in November? Oh,
wait, didn't Leonard Cohen die also in November?
Yes.
Oh, I hate November so much.
You know who else died was Ron Glass. Just passed away as well. If you're a Firefly fan, you'll know him from Firefly.
Really? Who does he play, Bo?
He plays... I don't remember what he's called, but he's like a monk guy.
I never really watched Firefly, but you just saying that just reminded me of something I did on the weekend, which I don't normally. You said I went to see a Philip Glass symphony. You guys know who Philip Glass is?
Oh yeah, that's when he said Ron Glass. I thought of like.
Yeah, that's why I did, because I didn't know who Ron Glass was. Was like, oh, Philip Glass.
So minimalistic.
So Philip Glass died too?
I've only ever known his music from a couple of soundtracks and things where I was like, man, this soundtrack is really good. And then I was like, oh, I like Philip Glass. So my wife's parents got me some tickets for my birthday. So I went to see. I'd never been to the symphony. Have you guys been to the symphony before? A symphony? Like, not like a high school kind of, playing Star Wars or whatever. But like,
I bet no, because I'm not remembering. But I feel like maybe I did.
I'll tell you, I enjoyed myself, but it's definitely not my bag. I was like, I don't know what's going on half the time. And at one point, I was just like obsessed with trying to. Like, you look at the symphony, and you're like, okay, there's two oboes over there, and there's two bass. Yeah, it's a symphony.
Racism.
There's a bass. There's a couple of French horns. You got your guy on the back with the big drum things. And then there's like, I counted them, 26 violins. And I was like, okay, 26. There were so many. And then I was corrected later that I think 6 of them were violas. I don't know what the difference is. But I was like, man,
frequencies.
It's heavy on the violin, I'll tell you.
I have a question. Do you guys think that like, maybe it's just the circles I run in, but like, do you think that classical music and participation in stuff like symphonies and that is on the decline, and that they will kind of like will they they need young people to take up violin and oboe and all that sort of stuff, and will there always be enough to keep all these symphonies going? And is there still a widespread interest in classical music? Yeah.
And I only say that because so Philip Glass got this award. It was the Glenn Gould Award, which Leonard Cohen also received a few years ago, and quite a prestigious award. And then so he got the award. He's like 80. Philip Glass, which I did not know. I didn't know much about the guy. I thought he was like 50. I was like, man, 80. And then he had to give an award to like a young protege with some guy who looked like he was in his late 20s or something like that. And there's a lot of the people in the symphony, there was a lot of old people, but there was a lot of like pretty young people, I'd say in their 20s, who are doing the violin thing. I think if your parents just get you into like something like that, you're going to be interested in classical music. I think, and think about it, like Bach. People are into Bach now, and you be like, oh yeah, old people like Bach now. It's like, yeah, but old people, like, when did Bach die? People who are old now were babies when Bach was dead for hundreds of years.
I was like a hardcore Chopin listener, although who wasn't? 20 years ago in my like early 20s, I was like, I lived listening to Chopin every day. Yeah, loved my Chopin CD.
It's good. Like, I get that classical music is good, but there's something about it doesn't it doesn't speak to my soul, I guess. I'm just like, I can appreciate it, and it was neat to watch it, but I couldn't make a habit of going to
And Philip Glass, like in particular, struck me more as like I always like it, but it as background to something that's going on. If I was listening to it, just the whole main attraction was the music. I don't know.
Well, his symphonies are more like proper symphonies. They still have his like the kind of repetitive sort of building elements that he's known for. But it was definitely I mean, I don't know what to think about it because I don't know enough about symphonies. But I was like,
hey,
not really my bag.
Speaking
and a lot of
of
snooty-looking people around, and I look like a homeless person, so it was weird.
Hey, speaking of, okay, I'm just used to being interrupted at this point.
Go ahead.
All right. Well, speaking of symphonies,
repetitive things that we're known for. Oh, there, I did it. Speaking of repetitive things we're known for, how about the random topic generator,
folks?
How about that?
This is your brain on sticking your finger in the electrical socket. This is what you look like if you do it.
Crofton was good.
Sticking it. Speaking of,
let's make the topic go.
All right, pull the cord on the random topic generator. Let the diesel flow. Here it comes. All right, there's the ding. Let's find out what we get today.
The topic today is physical greetings, and this includes hugs, handshakes, peck on the cheek. The physical greeting.
Is that all? You'll continue. You were listing them all.
Am I going to include fist bump? I don't know that.
Oh, the fist bump. Booyah.
Physical greetings.
That's how I greet my 2-year-old.
What about bowing? Bowing. Do you have to touch?
It's physical contact greeting. How about that?
Okay. I mean, so waving hello.
No, but it was like when I bow, I make sure my head hits the person on the way down. That's a proper bow.
No. You gotta bow. So tip of the hat, waving. We're not talking about those things. We're talking about physical
or vocal.
We say physical greetings.
Hello.
We're talking about. We can call it physical greetings. It just scope is contact. There's touching.
Yeah.
So
it's funny because this pretty much relates entirely to how you feel about touching, especially people you don't know maybe as well, right?
Yeah, but the great random topic generator gave it to us this way for a reason.
No, I'm just saying, like, your verdict is probably going to be as closely associated to how you feel about interactions with people that you might not know super well. Like,
maybe, but it's even more. It's more nuanced than that because it's like. It's not just how you feel vis-a-vis physical greetings or physical contact, but how every individual person who you interact with you're like, should I hug this person?
The cultural codes.
Like, you don't know how they are. And then so the awkwardness isn't necessarily always coming from how comfortable you are with a physical greeting of a given sort, but also trying to judge how the other person feels about it and then navigate that like.
Well, I have a story.
All right.
So, I lived for many years in Montreal, a city that is known for sort of, joie de vivre, if you will, and a lot of physical greetings, lots of hugs, lots of double kisses, like that. It's free video.
God, it doesn't sound appealing at all. It doesn't look appealing either.
And so, like, and it's funny because the double kisses are only with members of the opposite sex, but like your men are hugging each other all the time. It's just a lot of physical greetings. So then I moved to Ottawa, where I currently live, sometimes known by an unfavorable term as the city fun forgot, and one of the reasons that is, I think, is because people are much more Victorian style repressed here in many ways. And so it was funny because I am not a French Quebecer, which is who do the double kiss much more than us Anglos. But I got into the whole double kiss thing in Montreal. I'd been there a long time. I was like meeting people, blah, blah, blah. So then I start working at the government, federal government, in offices in Ottawa. And I come in and like I'm not a francophone, so I don't have that cultural double kiss thing. So I'm meeting these like new ladies like who I'm working with and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, nice to meet you. And they're looking at me like, what the fuck just happened? What is this guy doing?
They got their fingers like, should I file a grievance?
Do I file harassment?
Is this sexual harassment? I'm not sure.
So it was only like a little bit later where somebody, thank God, mentioned, like it's really weird that you kiss people French style, like the Montreal French sort of style. And I was like, really? That's odd. And they're like, yeah, we don't do that in Ottawa, especially English speakers. And I was like, oh, really?
It's better. It's better they said it like that rather than just like pull you inside and be like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? You can't go around like that. Like you're gonna get a sexual harassment suit on your hands. Like what?
But it got me thinking. Friendly. It got me thinking that like because now I'm totally the opposite. Like now if somebody came up and did that to me, I'd be like, oh God, what's going on? Harassment. Like I would be like they are. Like I've been deprogrammed, if you will. And I think about it, and I think, what did I like more, and what did I appreciate more? And honestly, I appreciated more the Montreal style. Like, I mean, it was just like people were less stuck up, and it was always like, and yeah, I understand that. Oh, what do I do, and all that. But if everybody is sort of like, if it's not weird, because people are doing it all the time and being like, I think it generally is a positive thing. You're showing like enthusiasm and like, that sort of enthusiasm and emotion and so I think it's positive. Although I do get the Howie Mandels out there that are obsessed with germs. How even a simple handshake could be like intimidating.
Yeah, no, and that's it's like you bring up a good point, which is just like what are the cultural norms in which you live, and some of them are like, hey, we all kiss each other in the face, not once but twice, and hug, and other places are like, we say greetings, and then you may extend a hand for a handshake, and that's it. It's like English style. I mean, like British. I feel like they're very much of the don't touch.
Handshake is American. Right, like that's handshakes.
Feels
like, I don't know if we'd say North American, although it's prevalent here.
No,
like,
I think of like, I don't know what it's dated, but I'm pretty sure the British
in the Old West,
handshake.
Spit and seal a deal with a
but keep in mind that Americans, much as they don't like to see it, are just British people who then said we're stopping being British now.
Okay,
like that's what they
listeners,
are,
direct all your angry comments and emails to Michael Hodgins at hotmail.com.
If you're American and you don't know that, it's like, well, look, I'm Canadian. Well, actually, it's like that's where those colonies came from. So a lot of the cultural things derive
I know what
from
you're
there.
saying. I know what you're saying. But
yeah,
identity is a strong thing, and the way that you choose to perform the greetings of your culture is important, right? Like, is there any culture that we know of right now that doesn't have a greeting that can be considered very respectful? That like a form of physical greeting, so kissing and handshaking. Like I do that when I want someone to feel like, oh, I'm hello, nice to meet you. It's so nice. I'm going to touch your hand and shake it up and down. Like you can't escape from it, right?
Well, there's always I don't know. I'm not so well versed in all the cultures of the world of where some that you do or do not handshake in. But the thing is, like, just to try to, it does seem nice. Like, I agree with Crofton's sentiment, and I think what you're trying to get at, Bo, you're meeting someone, you're like, here you go, here's my hand, and I think that's good. I lean towards liking it too. It's a friendlier world, one in which people shake hands, give friendly hugs. I guess for me, it's like, what I find interesting is not only do you learn something about the person you meet when you have a physical greeting, like a handshake. I feel like that's a very simple one. Hugs and kisses are maybe a different level people are less comfortable with. But the handshake, it's like, I find like I'm right in the middle with the handshake. The handshake I give is like, full hand, that thumb part of your hand there strongly connects, fairly firm. I think I have a good handshake. How many times do you get that weird bony, like 4 fingers kind of half into your hand thing where you're like, what am I shaking? Why is this person shaking my hand like this? Or other times where you get someone who's like trying to crush your knuckles under their hand with their like firmness. It's pretty interesting. But then you always wonder, like, the people who give the little like piddly fingers there, you're like, this person doesn't want to be shaking my hand, is how I often feel. Or like, you learn something about it, like, am I making this person uncomfortable because I extended my hand? And this is, you think of a handshake as pretty innocuous, but I'd say like a good 40% of handshakes I get are the weak-handed, non-full hand, limp, bony, like, where I'm just like, this is weird. And then hugging. So you learn about that. And then I feel like with the other ones, the hugging, and I didn't live in Montreal. I definitely didn't get into the French Quebecois culture, which let's face it is a a France culture, because Quebecers are just French people who stopped being French. They're just from France.
That's great.
I just, I'm casting a wide net here.
Yeah. Continue.
But it's more like, so like things like the hugs that's like second level physical greeting, right? You meet someone first time, at least in the culture I live in, you meet someone first time, you're not generally giving them a hug. Like, I just met you, I'm gonna give you a hug. You shake their hand. Yeah. And then it's like you have this like a series of friends or acquaintances that you hang out with several times, and and you see them in social settings, and you're like, okay, I've seen this person several times, and then at some point, like, when do you cross the hug threshold? At what point are we hugging friends now? Because I feel like I have the multi-tiered of hug friends, and then you have friends you see so often, like you guys. I've given you guys, I feel like I'm the huggiest of the three of us. I like to give you guys hugs, and I feel like you guys both feel like when I hug my brother, where he's like, why are you hugging me?
But those hugs have been but those hugs that have not been greetings. They've been
greetings that, like,
happy holidays.
When it's like the holidays,
it's Christmas,
or it's
right?
But there's still there are types of greetings.
Okay.
They're like,
I
haven't seen you in a while. I feel like giving you a hug, and
so,
it's like.
So you're saying the hugs that we share are deep and sensual and almost,
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that.
No. I mean, they are intimate. I guess the word I'm searching for is that there's an intimacy there.
But I guess what I was trying to get at here it's just the tiered level of this thing. Because what I was gonna say is, like, so we're pretty good friends. Generally, when we see each other, we know each other very well. We're not doing basically any kind of sort of greeting in a physical nature handshake. We're just saying, oh, hey, and then we get right into whatever we're talking about. It's only on it seems like a more formal occasion where it's like, I'd give one of you guys a hug, and then other people who you don't know at all, you also wouldn't. But you have that kind of middle zone of people who you see less frequently, or maybe somewhat less close with, but you've known for a while, and because I have certain friends, when I see them, I always give them a hug. But I don't see them as often probably as I see you guys, and probably don't know them as well. So it's funny, it's like there's this threshold you cross when you get into a level of physical greetings, and then at one point when you're so comfortable with people that you just sort of stop it, and you're just basically, we see each other all the time. We're just let's just check.
No.
But getting back to your original thing, like, that's your thing. That's your, like, list of whatever.
That's my interpretation of it.
Yeah.
Yes, sure.
In everybody, so that means everybody has a different interpretation. That's where you're absolutely right when you said early on it can get confusing. You're like, oh, what do I do here? I just want to step back and talk about one in particular, which is the handshake. Because a handshake is something that I associate or have associated with business dealings to a certain extent. So the idea being, like, when you shake somebody's hand, do we have an agreement? Yes. We just want to shake on it. Okay. Then you shake on it, and it's essentially supposed to be a solidification of an agreement. Much in the same way as signing a contract. Call it a handshake agreement for the most part. And I think people romanticize that in many ways, and being like, a man is as good as his handshake or whatever. Now, I recently tried to sell my car, and I was, somebody was over and this sort of thing, and he asked if he could give me a deposit once we had negotiated and the sale was done. And I said, no, I said, you know what? I'm good. If you want to just shake on it, I'm fine with that. And so we shook hands or whatever, and I said, I consider that this is an agreement, and I'll stop. I'm going to cancel this meeting I was going to have with this other person and whatever. And you can probably see where this is going. He called me like that evening and was like, "Oh, I found another car or a cheaper car or whatever, and I'm gonna go with that instead.
Oh my
Sorry,"
God.
or whatever.
He made his handshake worthless now.
Well, essentially, and I said to him, like, he texted it to me, and I just said, like, you're free to do what you want. Absolutely. I said, guess I learned a lesson, which is that handshakes aren't as worth as much as I thought that they were. I do think for a long time they meant a lot. They actually did mean a lot. People operated in a way that you shook hands and that deal was concluded. I think we're fairly long past that, and maybe it's naive of me to think that that shake was a deal being done or whatever. But handshakes are in terms of greetings, they're used when you meet someone, but then they're also used on a transactional basis later on when you say you conclude a deal with someone. I don't think most people, after they've met someone, "Hey, nice to meet you," and they shake their hand, next time they see them, they're like, "Oh, Jim." Maybe they do that sometimes and shake their hand again. But I don't think that that's a regular thing. I think once people know someone and have a friendship with someone, that they're not shaking their hand anymore. That's like an introductory thing, and then you move into like maybe maybe you give them a hug, maybe you do whatever, maybe there's another type of physical greeting that replaces it. But for me, the handshake is for the deals, and it's for introducing yourself to someone.
Well, if you have like especially traditional older male relatives, it's how you always greet them. Like, I have
good to see you, Crofton.
An uncle that I've known since I was a baby, and I see him now and I get in a good firm handshake.
The handshake, uncle. Just to be clear, the handshake happens after you give like 4 other people hugs and kisses, like family members.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "No homo."
He's just pretty much, he's like, I am a waspy man, older man. Here's like, shake my hand.
Right.
And it is funny that sex thing too, like because I've been in situations like that too, where I'm like, "Hey, how's it going?" And you're giving a big hug to like the lady, like your aunt or whatever, and then it's like, "Oh, your uncle, hey," right afterwards.
And I find that there's a bit of a generational thing, and it still lingers, like amongst, I think, our generation, certainly the one below us, the more proper millennials, we're like XY. I think it's a little bit more like I give a lot of my male friends hugs, and I like it, and I think it's cool. I think the generation above us, it's like and I think the generation below us, it's not even thought about. In ours, we still have a bit of a mix, like people who are like, I like hugging the ladies, but I don't really like hugging the men.
Yeah.
And
I think it's just because hugging and kissing, you do a lot of that in sexual context as well. And insecure people just feel like.
Wait, you don't do any handshaking when you're getting it on? Because I'm all about.
Well, I mean, you do grip hands, so I mean, if you're a repressed dude, you shouldn't handshake either. Because sometimes when you're really giving it, hands are clasped. And they're shaking. They're shaking like when they're getting close to fit. Anyways, all right.
Okay. Bo shakes other things with his hand.
That shake, like, look, nothing. Not. All right. Nothing goes untouched. That's what I was gonna say. All right. Anyways, but
that's just before I make a crude joke about Bo masturbating with his hand. I also note that that's probably the hand that I'm gonna end up shaking, right? so like there is for people who are really like germaphobes, or who are really just like conscious of like, oh my God, that hand's being in so many places. Like, I do understand the sort of discomfort from a practical standpoint. Like when you go into the clinic and all that, and they're saying, get your flu shot. One of the big things they say is like, don't, germs transfer hands through hand to hand and all that sort of stuff. So, I mean, like, I recognize that practically it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like it's really, I like it in that it seems like a more cuddly world when people are giving like touch greetings or whatever, for lack of a better term. But it definitely is also a world where if somebody's sick, then everybody else is going to get sick pretty quick.
It's true. I was actually at kind of a dinner party-ish thing not that long ago, and I had a bit of a. I remember I went through that period where I was sick for like weeks, it seemed. In any case, and I was like, people were, hugging, and I was everyone who was there. I was just like, oh, I'm a little bit sick. I'm just not gonna hug for your sake. And some people were like, oh, it's okay. I don't mind. I'm like, no, look, I'm sick. I don't want to make you sick. And there was one girl in particular was like, oh, I don't care. And she gave me a hug. And I remember just being like, but man, like, I'm telling you, like, I do not feel well. Why would you hug me? And with the social kind of cues, she felt like, no, that's worth taking the risk. And I was like, no, that seems ridiculous. And I thought I was, it's like, I like to give everyone a hug. I don't want anyone to get sick. I don't want to get sick. And I would be happy if someone was like, I'm not going to give you a hug because I'm a little bit under the weather. I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, nice to see you, or whatever, and keep.
And true story, she died of pneumonia a week later.
Yeah, well, she had other complicating factors.
Well, but fair enough. Like I think anyone, personally, if anyone's so much of a germaphobe that they do not want to engage in any form of physical greetings, I'm totally cool with that. In fact, as a common theme with me on the show, I'm always like, wanting to question, why do we do these? Why is it a handshake? Why don't we rub the back of each other's hands? Why do we do fist bumps? Like it's just
Does
random.
Does it matter though? Like
it's just random. Like hugs are kind of random. Like if you really think about it, and even kissing on the cheeks, it's all just like it's weird. Like if you just take a step back, it's like why don't we lick each other's eyebrows in greeting? Or
I just feel like knowing Bo in the way that he approaches topics, that he would be all positive on this. This seems like one that you would be like, oh yeah, people need to loosen up.
Remember birthdays? He hated birthdays.
This
is like.
Let me tell you something, Crofton. I like hugging and I like kissing a whole lot.
Okay.
He's alluding to something, I believe.
But like I don't mind participating in these social norms. They're no sweat off my back. But like I think about them and I'm like, why handshakes?
There's a lot of sweat on his back, actually.
Remember when people used to like not say things like my bad, and that wasn't in our lexicon, and also fist bumping didn't exist? Like
no.
And fist bumping, there was a time when we were alive there was no fist bumping, and fist bumping is a very common, somewhat culturally misappropriated, I think, form of greetings. Especially it's very safe for I find the insecure, because even then you're not rubbing palms, because who knows where those palms have been. It's more cool to have the hard edges of your manly square shape punching each other, like there's reasons we choose culturally, collectively, we choose certain greetings as what we're comfortable with, or what we all accept, or what we imbue meaning to. It's not just random, but we don't often think about where they come from, and like that's our opportunity here. I don't know. So I'm like thinking.
Is this the kind of thing where it's just like, are we just overthinking this? Really? Like,
no, because people think a lot about it every day. Like if I go out and I meet someone on one day and I put up my hand to shake their hand, and they look at it and they're like, no, I don't think so. Then I'm immediately like, I'm left hanging. There's a weird thing there. This is like what you talked about in terms of everybody thinking about, did I go too far? Is this enough? Like this is something people go through pretty much every day, especially with people they know less. And so they get in their own head. So I do think like it's not necessarily an overthink to be like, now Bo's thing about back of the hand or whatever, like everybody's got different cultural things, and I guarantee if you went up into Wikipedia and wrote cultural hand gestures or whatever, there would be a zillion. But this is like the ones that we're used to, and I can understand him raging against them because they're the ones that he sees all the time. But for me, I think that like if people would never do these things, like say, so the guy who doesn't give you his hand, or that there'd be like no hugs as form of greetings, just as form of greetings. There'd still be hugs, but like even people you like you would never be like, hello, it's nice to see you or whatever, but there'd never be any hugs. I don't see, yes, there's the germ thing, and yes, you inform people, yeah, like I'm feeling sick right now. I just rolled around in like herpes. I don't know. You let people know, and then they don't do it. But otherwise, like, it just seems to make the world a nicer place. Whereas if you take it away and there aren't these types of greetings, then it feels like people get distanced. It gets colder. You might as well meet them on the internet, as opposed to meeting them in real life. What's the difference? The difference is you can touch them in real life. I'm talking to you guys right now. What would be the difference of doing it in a room with you guys? Yeah, it'd be a little more instantaneous. But the bigger thing would be I could throttle you instead of like asking for a throttle button.
No, throttling is not a greeting.
It's probably good we've had this distance. Yeah. No, I think you make a very good point, and I also think that now that I have like a little kid, and you realize I've for sure most of us, and I would feel very sad for anybody who didn't start off life being hugged and kissed a lot by their parent, because I feel like like I hug and kiss my kid lots, and he probably more than he wants probably, but he likes it. Like, and I remember when I was a little kid, liking big hugs from my mom and my dad, and we start off life like that, right? And it seems like, and especially in Western culture, we kind of like put up these walls around that more and more. So I think it's nice where that stuff can persist into adult life, because we all start life as very physical beings. We need that sense of touch to really communicate with when you can't in any other way. And I mean, I know Bo's ideal would be that we all just be born into this like gelatinous blob, and then our brain downloaded directly into the hive mind where we no longer need any kind of physical. But that's not the world I want to live in, at least not yet. And I think while we still have physical bodies, it's nice to be able to give someone a hug, shake their hand. No, I am here physically. I'm in your presence. Here, touch my hand. It's full of germs.
No,
share my biome with me.
There's a certain sense of intimacy, no matter what style you're talking about, that is delivered through human contact. I mean, it's, there's a lot there, and having actual regular human contact, like physical contact with other humans, I believe has a healthy effect on you, even if it's just psychosomatic. I don't want to cite any sources, but I'm fairly certain I've countered that a number of times, where touching and being in contact is good, and so it's good to give it to your children, and generally it makes you a healthier person, a happier person. So there's something to it.
Is good. And I think of like when if you're like I remember a couple times I had like disagreements with other kids in like elementary school or something like that, and they sit down and then they'd make you like shake hands. Shake hands, be friends, move on, or something like that. And I was just thinking when you're talking about this and this whole like how we have less physical greetings, and I was like, I wonder what effect it would have had if like Hillary Clinton and Trump were forced to have like a genuine hug for like 30 seconds, like hug each other, feel that you're really people, even though you disagree. I wonder how that would have changed their view of each other. Maybe not at all, but maybe. And I feel like there is something about that physical connection with people, and probably people that you think of as someone who you couldn't disagree with, that I really think it can diffuse things sometimes. And the handshakes are tertiary ways of getting through that, but there are other ones, like a hug is more intimate than that. And my wife always says, like, a hug doesn't start working, like a real hug, until unless it's at least 7 seconds. So it's like if you want a hug to be like, I'm here, I'm hugging you, say someone's sad or whatever, give them a hug, just hold them in your arms. It feels nice, it's not sexual, it's nothing like that. It's just like, we're both just people, we're here for a limited amount of time, I'm with you now, period. And it's a nice thing. And I mean, most of these greeting hugs that's not the kind of hug you're giving in a greeting hug, nor should it be. But I'm just saying, these things are nice.
So let's have some homework. Let's do a greeting hug and make it last too long. Let's put a challenge.
Well, that's the thing. That's the other end of it. There is the awkwardness that arises when you're like, oh, why isn't this person letting go now?
So, to Mike's point about Hillary and Donald, one thing it was interesting about that is, one, they shook hands at the first debate, and then after like that debate, And after the time that elapsed between where Trump got, and they both got really into the muck. The next debate, there's a lot of notice of the fact that they did not shake hands, and it was a town hall style debate. So it was like they were really right next to each other. So it was very noticeable that they didn't shake hands. And the other thing I would say is that Trump said a lot of bad things about Barack Obama in particular. And then when I hadn't realized this, had not really ever met Barack Obama in person. And then did so since becoming president-elect, and has now, of course, changed his opinion entirely because he's in the same room and talking and getting to know him. I'm sure that they did shake hands or whatever, but there is something about engaging with people on a one-on-one level. Like I go for meetings at work to buildings that are quite far away, and people are like, well, you could teleconference and all this. And I do sometimes or whatever, but like the point is being in the room with people, shaking their hand, saying, hey, like this is me, this is, I'm working with you, not against you type sort of thing, really allows to break down barriers. And as Mike said, sort of like make us all see each other as humans, because it's very easy to put up people that you have, to put up walls between you and someone and have them see them as your enemy. And so there are those cathartic hugs that he's talking about, but just if you're meeting with people and interacting with them and touching them, then I feel like you're less likely to be feuding with them.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I think that, again, it's the intimacy that really connects you to people. So
and it's just, so the other angle of this I want to bring up, especially around the hugging and stuff, is the, like, we touched on a little bit, like, whole, like, is it awkward? When is it awkward? And Crofton talked about his coming from Montreal to Ottawa and realizing that it was maybe somewhat awkward to do the double kiss. And I've had similar things, especially in work context, where you had, like, sort of a low level above you boss or a colleague or something like that, and you see them in meetings, you knew them for a few years or whatever, and then it's like, you go out for lunch and everyone's hugging each other and you're all friends or whatever, and then that person like leaves work or something, and then you see them like 6 months later on the street, and I've had I hugged that person and now we don't know each other. I feel awkward. I get stuff like that fairly often. I'm like, I wish I never broke the hug barrier with that person, because now once you're in, you're in, and then I've been in a situation where I feel like, do I have to hug this person? I hugged them once. Why did I hug them once? I didn't know them that well. Or whatever, and then so I do feel there's, and this is me when I was saying, like, are we overthinking this? And I'm like, yes, I'm overthinking this. Who cares? Hug someone, don't hug someone. But I do feel like, have you set a certain precedent with someone and this and that? So I don't know. Do you guys feel this sort of awkwardness that comes along with it as well, or am I?
No. It's like having an ex or anything like that. Like it's someone who was at a certain level of intimacy. In the form of greetings that's been downplayed, and the situation's different. Everyone's got to grapple with that, but nobody talks about it directly. I mean, maybe some people do address it directly. I think most people would not want to do that.
Probably not.
But
like a handshake, you never feel like that. Never feel like,
no, because a handshake has a touch of formality to it. Like, yes, there are formal greetings, and some of them are physical. Handshake, one of them. Something that can also substitute when you can't think of anything else to do. A handshake never fails, except in a case where maybe you are supposed to know one another a little better and you opt for the formal handshake. Someone might take it as, oh, I got a handshake. Like, imagine going on a first date and it's a blind date, or you met them online or something, and you meet them and the first thing you do is give them a handshake. That date's not going well. Not off to a good start, boys. if you open up with a handshake, it might be better just to do nothing. But yeah,
it's also kind of interesting that there's the overlap. So our topic here is physical greetings, and it's like, okay, you have ones that are clearly just that, fist bump, handshake. That's generally what it is. Handshake might also have congratulatory or deal making, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. But there's something like hugs. also cross over. It might be a greeting to someone who you're closer with, or it might be something when someone's sad, you give them a hug. There's other, and kissing too clearly has other connotations, but it might also be a part of a physical greeting. So some of these things serve different functions as well, but it's clearly only the greeting.
Yeah. You know what greeting that we haven't talked about that is a thing is the hand kiss.
Oh, like for the ladies.
For the ladies or for royalty.
Oh,
or
when I was at the symphony, there was the guy who was the director of the Glenn Gould Foundation, who was an older fellow wearing a bow tie and thick black rim glasses in a hilarious suit. And the lady who was presenting the award was, what's her name? The woman who sang that song Downtown. You know that song? When you're alone and life is getting you down, you can always go downtown. Yeah, that lady. And he went out and he grabbed her hand and he kissed it fervently. And I was like, that guy is a guy who goes to the symphony and from a different sort of generation. But yeah, I witnessed that. And I was like, hell yeah, don't do that.
Petula Clark?
Petula Clark. Yeah, she was...
wow.
She's also old.
I don't know who that is, but I know the song.
She sang Downtown. That was her big hit. And she promised everyone at the symphony that she wasn't going to sing Downtown. And I was like, damn it. That now you be talking my language. I like some Downtown. Symphony I'm less into.
All right, well, speaking of Downtown, I think we've got to put a bow on our conversation here and get right into verdicts. But hand kissing, it's a great one. I think it's pretty good. Let us pull in the animals first, and I'll go to town on hand kissing. All right, order in the court. I'm up first today, boys. I want a chance to speak. You guys have been pretty involved. I felt a bit sidelined today, so here we go. Physical greetings. I think Mike put it best when he went on that little diatribe about some of my more highfalutin ideas, like we should be energy beings and we should have a hive mind and all kinds of things like that. However, he very astutely pointed out that physical greetings are great, and I think until that time in which we've solved some of these problems, there is, touching is really important to human life. I like touching. I like being touched. And I think that physical greetings are very good. But I share some of the consternation about the moving rule set about which things apply where. Certainly I don't want to give a hug to someone who doesn't want one, doesn't want to have received one. Or my personal favorite, as we talked about before verdicts, the hand kiss. I think the hand kiss it's so cool that we have physical gestures that really show deference to someone else in like a respectful or even reverential way. I think that kind of stuff's pretty amazing. And Crofton's giving me a look on his face, but you love it when your Croftaholics bend the knee and you put the outstretched hand in and they give it a kiss. You like that, so you can respond during your verdict. All that to say is that I think, we don't have the hive mind. We're not beings of energy. Touching is pretty awesome in the current state of being that we are. So I think physical greetings are good. Thumbs up for the physical greetings, and let me hug physical greeting topic as well.
Maybe I wish the internet had a hug function and not just a throttle function. I'll go next and jump right in, and I know what Crofton's going to say anyways. Probably the same thing I'm going to say.
Before you go, I just want to address Bo's thing. The reason I was making those faces when you were talking about deferential is I don't think that is as neat as stuff that shows sort of equal relationships that like night So I find it interesting that you're like, what's cool is that you people can like defer to somebody else in physical gesture. I'm like, that seems like the least cool thing to me. I don't know if you want to. Anyway, that's why I was making those
You've
faces.
said your piece. Now let's have Mike. Let's stop tuning on Mike's time.
Physical greetings. I mean, let's face it, this is a bit of a light topic. And Crofton's making all kinds of gestures. I don't know what
super. I think he really wants a hug, Mike.
Yeah, he does. I'll send him a virtual hug.
I drank coffee.
I do think that these it's look, I'll just say good. Physical greetings are good.
Okay. Where are the horns? The horns are not here. Wait, there they are.
I should give them a hug. I give the horn player a hug.
How many problems can we solve by just a good long hug, do you think?
Lots, probably more than we think. And I just feel like all those kinds of physical, giving someone a hug when you meet them, it's good. It's not bad. And when and those things that were like awkwardness. Okay, I've felt awkward a lot of the time with people who are in the acquaintance zone, and you're like, are you hugging or you're not hugging? And I mean, that's clearly just stemmed from my own insecurity, and that's fine. And I feel like that's anything to do with you're putting yourself out there. If you're enjoying even a small amount of intimacy with something, there's room for insecurity in that, and like that's okay. I feel like that just goes with the territory. If and I have some insecurities, and I'm okay with those. I think everybody does. And if I feel awkward sometimes around a hug, it's made up for from all the other wonderful people I know who I get a nice big hug from when I see them, and it makes me happy. And more of it would be better, less of it would be worse, so it's good.
All right, good analysis. Crofton, last but not least, your verdict, sir.
So Bo said something interesting earlier that while making an analogy that made me think about things, where he said, it's no sweat off my back. And then I immediately started thinking of Bo's sweaty back. And I started thinking about, like, if there's a lot of people or times where it's like you might be put in uncomfortable situations where, like, oh yeah, I've got to, this person got to give this hug to a person, not Bo in particular, but somebody that's like got a gross or something's going on that's nasty. And so, like, those situations make me kind of cringe. And there's a lot of like Seinfeldian situations sort of tied into this topic. The idea that, like, handshakes, people talk about, the firm handshake or the limp handshake, as Mike was talking about, and everybody thinks about these things and uses them to sort of get a good sense of the state of relationship at play with the person that you're interacting with. And I that really had me thinking, like, oh yeah, there's a lot of bullshit about these things, but in the end, I find myself agreeing with Mike in the sense that, like, as I said earlier, it'd be a cold world if there were none of these gestures. And I think that the net positive that they give is much greater than the occasional bouts of discomfort or where you question, did I go in too heavy or not? I don't know. Also, I would disclose that, like, because I think Bo talked about dates at the end, and this is something that I have not done dating pretty much, because my wife and I have been together since college or whatever, and so that's where you'd meet, especially internet dating. You'd meet somebody online, and then you have to have this sort of interaction where it's like, okay, I just met you, but I guess we'll hug, or we'll, like at the end of the date, do you kiss, do you hug, or what's going on? So that would be, I'm sure, if you were heavily into that sort of thing, you were meeting people on dates all the time, you might have a different life experience than I do. For me, physical greetings are always positive, aside from a couple of weirdos. So I'm going to have to say that physical greetings are good.
Yeah, I didn't know where you were going with that. I was like,
well, I just wanted to talk, like, it seems obviously good, but then I realized that I'm only limited by my life experience. When Mike was giving an example of, like, I hugged that person and then I don't know them anymore and now I don't know what to feel. I was like,
awkward.
For me, that's never happened, because as Mike points out, he's the more huggy of us. So, like, if I'm at the point where I'm hugging someone, that person is somebody that I'm going to remember their name and be comfortable talking to them on the street. I might see a lot of handshakers that I have no idea who they are anymore. But, like, for me, once we're at hug level, then it's probable that there's not going to be any weirdness there. I'm not going to see any of my ex-huggers walking around, I don't think, without there may be some high school huggers.
I got a lot of ex-huggers around, I'll tell you. You're like, oh.
You whore.
We hugged once. And I thought it was friendly. And now I just don't know that person.
Now you're just somebody that I used to know. Somebody. All right. So I'm gonna cap it off there with that awkward singing of that guy's song. If you want to tell us what you think about physical greetings, please do. We love hearing from listeners, so you can find us on our website, goodbadbull@gmail.com. There's links to everything, including our email address, where you can send said email to goodbadbull@gmail.com. Twitter @goodbadbull. Facebook, just type in Good Bad Bull in the search bar. You probably find us. And, if you want to subscribe to the show, we're on iTunes. We are on Stitcher. And by the way, iTunes folks, there's a few of you on there who went, and unlike Mike's suggestion, and even ours to some extent about rating it what you want, you've rated it 5 stars and written some pretty nice things.
No, that is what they wanted to rate it, Bo. We just didn't coerce them. They did it of their own volition.
Of their own free will, they gave us 5 stars. So if you want to give us 1 star, 2 stars, any amount of stars, go on your iTunes right now if you're listening to this and write us a review, even if it's crazy or silly or whatever. Just write it in there. Write a message to someone else and troll the internet by doing this. We don't care. Dude.
Also, you can't give stars by person. Like, I was wondering if you could break it down. Like, if you want to give me 5 stars and then 1 star,
no.
You can't do it. I talked to Apple about it, so you're just gonna have to collectively give us 5, or maybe do an average.
You can write about your love of Crofton in the text part and the title part of the review. So go ahead and have at her, folks. Okay, that's that. Finally, want to thank our patrons over at patreon.com. They help support the show. We don't ask for much. The show's free. We've been doing it every week for 3 years. And if you dig the show and you're a regular listener and you want to just help us pay for some costs, help support us, go do that at patreon.com/goodbadbull and join the other fine individuals in there. We have an eclectic bunch of supporters, so do join us. I think that's going to wrap it up. We're going to find out we're going to ask these guys what their social media contacts are. That's what's going to happen next. So I'm at Bo Schwartz. Let's get that out of the way. Find me on Twitter there. Crofton, if our listeners want to find out more about you, where can they find you?
You can follow me on Twitter at Crofton Steers and give me like a high five fist bump emoji, if you will.
You know what's people like these days are the GIFs. Find a good hug fail GIF and send it.
Do people like those really?
I see tons of them.
Just because they're going around doesn't mean they're well liked. There's a lot of things that are going around, like the flu, which is not well liked.
Well, Michael, where can people find your cheery? Where can people locate your cheery disposition on the internet?
You know what? I'm going to tweet out hugs to all of my very few followers at ML Hodgins.
Yeah, you should put in between each not vitriolic, but scathing review of modern atrocities. You should put a hug tweet in there because now you've been a little bit more active on Twitter. I see. No hugs though, so let's get on that.
Forthcoming.
All right.
We've had this conversation about hugging, and
I had something to bring.
Oh, you have something to bring? Okay.
For the end of the show, because it didn't really apply, but it kind of applies. And I'm not sure how to bring this up other than we talked a lot about how touching is good. Have you heard of this thing called professional cuddling?
Japanese, right?
No, it's American.
Whoa.
Look, there's weird things in Japan. I'm telling you.
So there are people who are professionals out there they're not sex workers, to be very clear. They will cuddle you for like an hour.
I have heard of this.
Yeah. So our conversation made me think of this. I remember this being a thing. I remember being kind of intensely curious about it because I'm like, I mean, you guys probably get cuddled. You have wives, I believe, and you probably get some cuddling in. But I'm like, what about those of us?
Yeah, I like some cuddling. I just would be always curious. I mean, I know it's not sex work or whatever, but what kind of sexual undertones are still happening there? People are like, no, this is just cuddling, but I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm saying, right? So I think this site is now defunct, but I'm like on
cuddling.
I'm on
but
cuddling.
Are you looking for a business?
I'm at cuddlery.ca, which I'm pretty sure it's CBC News is There's a picture
Oh.
of them
That's
there.
not a physical
But
greeting.
but
You're not gonna
there's
get
one
off-
woman
you're not gonna
touching.
meet someone at work and then go cuddle with them in the closet for 5 minutes. You're
We'll
gonna
get the
give
cuddle
them-
room going.
No, I know, but I just thought it just made me think of how important touching is. Like, how important is it that
It
handshake
is
an
well, and
institution?
cuddling, and I think that came back to that astute point made by me about
So humble.
about babies. We were all started life as babies, where you're the cuddliest cuddled thing there is, and it's wonderful. It's nice to be cuddled, and I think that we always have part of our brains that remembers being a baby, and it's a wonderful time of your life. It can be, and it's nice to be cuddled.
Hey, Hodgins.
Yeah.
I already tweeted out hugs to all. You can retweet me, sucker.
Well, hey, you know what? Like I said, Crofton, more hugs are good, less hugs are bad, so that's all right.
Hashtag hugs.
I also just wanted to say, so you can cut the show off here or before here if you want, but I was thinking about hugging, and you know how you have people that you hug or whatever. I have this kind of like in my in-laws family. There's lots of people. They're very huggy family, good huggers too. But there's one in particular. I won't name any names.
A bad hugger.
Sometimes you get hugs from people all the time. You'll see them regularly. And you're like, okay, I'll get a hug, and you're like, why is this person even bothering? It's this woman who's like, what I mean by that. So
Wow.
Nice attempt there.
Let me just explain the context. So she's she's an attractive girl, well put together. Clearly, a lot of time goes into her hair. A lot of time, and I can tell when she's hugging me or anyone else, because my wife said the same thing, that her hair is her primary concern when she's hugging you. So she comes in for a hug. Her head is cocked off to the side in such a way that there's no chance that your head's going to come into contact with the hair, and basically there's this kind of weird, like, you might feel her forearms on your shoulders, and then she pulls away, head clean, no damage done to the hair, and I'm just like, we should just shake
hand up
because
there.
I don't know.
You
know
should
what?
get that
Next
hand.
time,
You should be.
That's what I'm gonna do. Next time I see her, I'm gonna like big bear hug and get my hand right in her hair,
Right in there.
and everyone's gonna be like, they're gonna take me aside and be like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Is what they're gonna say. 'Cause that'll be crossing a line. But yeah, there's weird hugs. That's all I'm saying. And you learn something about people with these physical greetings.
I just see, because she's an attractive lady, and I just see your wife be like, "What the fuck were you doing?" And you're like, "I'm sick of her elitist hugs."
She's a bad hugger. I was trying to.
I was trying to get my hand up in there. Oh, you were trying to get your hand up in something, Mister.
Oh Lord, delete this from the episode.
All right.
So should I not include that in the episode?
Yeah, maybe not. No.
Right,
I actually, because I'm assuming we're done somewhere here, but I got to.
We're done, I think. So
buy live
so
stream,
you got to go buy. People watching the VOD, thank you for tuning in. Love you all. See you on the next episode. Sayonara. Goodbye.